Shocking! The scandal of the actress and the movie star's affair exposed. The judge wants to sentence me to death. Because this is a world with zero tolerance for cheating, my husband has joined forces with entertainment big shots to send me to court. If I'm successfully convicted of cheating, I will be executed in public. If they fail, not a single person here will escape unscathed. Chapter 1. I am a typical resource-backed star, with a powerful family influence. From the moment I debuted, I drew a lot of attention. After marrying Victor, my career took a nosedive, and I returned home every day to nothing but coal pots and iron bowls. I had long since faded from the public eye, while his career flourished, with rising paychecks. His fans almost tore me apart with their insults. But Victor had no real acting skills. He only succeeded because of his good looks, his skill at charming fans, and the resources I provided him. He gained a prominent position in the industry. Whenever he came home, he would throw his bag on the floor and say, "I'm so tired today. Make me a bowl of fish soup." In everyone's eyes, he was a successful man, handsome, wealthy, gentle, and considerate, the breadwinner of the family. I was at home every day, living off of him without contributing anything. To his fans, I was the leech tying down their national heartthrob. I silently endured it all and continued to stay by his side as his loyal, submissive simp. Not a penny of his money was ever spent on me. I once tested him, and he frowned, yelling, "Why should you be concerned about a man's money? Just be a good housewife at home, okay?" I swallowed my emotions, until one day, I went to my agency to discuss my comeback. In the lounge attached to my office, I saw a lace nightgown hanging off the corner of the bed. It was a size too big, obviously not mine. I put it back where it was, unable to hold back the tears that came. Just then, I received a message from Victor. "I'll come home to be with you tomorrow afternoon." Every year on Valentine's Day, in order to maintain the role of a good husband, he would come home to be with me no matter what work he had. I picked up my phone and replied, "Don't come home. Meet me at my office instead." Okay. The next day, I went to the office with a restless heart. I deliberately arrived an hour late, because last night, while Victor was asleep, I used his phone to send a message to an unnamed woman. "Come to the company tomorrow afternoon. Same spot." She replied instantly, "You're finally willing to spend Valentine's Day with me." Now, standing at the bottom of the building, my body was trembling, tears welling in my eyes. Who could she be? If it was someone famous, what would I do? Wearing a hat and mask, I walked into the elevator, my mind racing with the scene I was about to face. Was it going to be a fight, or would I catch them in the act? The closer I got, the faster my heart pounded. I took out my key, ready to burst in at any second. No matter what scene awaited me, the door opened. I opened my eyes and saw a group of people in uniforms. They took out their IDs, their faces serious. "Miss Luna, your husband has reported you for infidelity. We need you to come with us." Chapter 2. I was escorted to the courtroom, where the judge sat directly in front of me. Victor was already waiting on the side, with a girl next to him. It was Sandra, the award-winning actress known throughout the industry. Rumor had it she was gentle and easygoing, kind and gracious to everyone, but I always felt there was hatred in her eyes when she looked at me. Maybe it was a woman's sixth sense, but I was almost certain that the unnamed woman from Victor's phone was her. "Luna, regarding your husband's accusation of your infidelity, do you have anything to say?" The judge knocked on the table. I shook my head resolutely. "I do not admit to it." Victor frowned. "Think carefully. Since you are public figures, this trial is being broadcast live across the internet. If you confess now, your sentence may be reduced accordingly. But if the machine proves otherwise, there will be no room for regret." I still shook my head resolutely. "I do not admit to it." I knew very well the consequences of betrayal. A smile was already playing on Victor's lips. As if he was certain of his victory, Sandra stood obediently by his side, still playing the role of the good girl. In this world with zero tolerance for betrayal, if I were convicted, I would be sentenced to death. But if the other side was guilty, everything would be reversed. The internet was already buzzing with discussions. I always knew Luna was no good. I just don't get it. With a perfect husband like Victor, What could she possibly be dissatisfied with? That day, when I saw what was on his phone, my heart shattered. I had never forgotten the beauty of our first meeting. But Victor, you forced me to this. I tilted my head toward Victor and said, "Let's begin." Chapter 3. Victor stepped up to the court, pulling a photo out from his pocket. The photo was projected onto the big screen. Everyone gasped. The woman in the photo, wearing a lace slip dress, was me. Pressed against me was a tall man in a black suit, restrained yet intense. That man was the famous movie star, Angelo. From the angle of the photo, it's clear that it was secretly taken through the crack in the door. Wait, she already seduced Victor. Now she's going after Angelo too? The great actor is always known for his composure. He definitely wouldn't get involved with Luna. Victor spoke with anguish, his eyes bloodshot, and began to tell the story behind the photo. Not long ago, as always, whenever he had some free time, he would return home to be with me. But this time, he didn't find me at home. You see, every day, I would prepare a hearty meal for him and then ask with care, "Was work tiring today?" He called my name throughout the house, but no one answered. He became anxious, worried that something had happened to me, and called my assistant. The assistant said, "She had something to do." Something to do? What could a housewife possibly have to do? Victor always had his doubts, fearing that his work had made me feel neglected. So he began coming home especially early every day. And each day, when I returned, I would just say coldly, "I went to see my friend." Seeing a friend until midnight? Who would believe that? But Victor, though suspicious, didn't question it further, until one day, he decided to follow me. He followed me as I left, trailing me to a tall building. He followed me up to the 8th floor, his heart filled with constant unease. He saw me enter a room where a man was sitting. The man was the actor Angelo. His pain was overwhelming, and it was then that he took that photo through the crack in the door. When he finished speaking, he closed his eyes, and 2 tears rolled down his face. Oh my God, Victor is so devoted. You wretched woman, seducing my idol and then cheating on him. Get out of the entertainment world. Someone stepped out from behind Victor. It was my assistant. I was slightly surprised. She kept her head down, as if hesitating, as if she couldn't bear it. And after a moment, she began crying loudly. "Ma'am, I don't want you to die, but you can't do something so heartless." Instantly, the discussions grew louder. She was present as Victor's witness. I let out a cold laugh. Raising my hand, "Judge, I request the use of the retracer." The judge was startled. Once the retracer is used successfully, the penalty will be doubled. Not only could you die, but your family might be implicated as well. Sandra, the supposedly gentle and kind actress, spoke up. Not only did she cheat, but now she's risking her family's safety too. I nodded calmly. "I'm certain I will use it." In Victor and Sandra's eyes, a flicker of panic finally emerged. Chapter 4. I placed my hand above the retracer, and the projector began to display my memories of Victor. "I told you, I just want to act again." I stood beside the wardrobe, while the man on the bed stared at me like he was catching me in the act. Buried for so many years, I had made up my mind to reclaim everything that belonged to me. Victor sneered. "Stop pretending. You, someone who's been stuck at home for so long, want to act? If you admit you've cheated, maybe I'd forgive you this once." I walked up to him, looking him straight in the eye. "I haven't." People watching the projector began to talk amongst themselves. What did she say? Acting? Luna wants to act? Is she calling that huffing and puffing acting? If Luna can act, then I'll call a director right now. I want an audition too. But still, our Victor is so devoted, even willing to forgive cheating. On the screen, a woman was shown leaving early and coming home late every day, even more often than Victor. A shadow followed her sneakily. Victor. From my perspective, I always knew Victor was following me. I deliberately lost him and went alone to a hotel room. For a moment, people gasped. Victor's expression turned complicated. He lowered his head, as if this was what he had expected. I remained calm. A woman's voice came from the projector. "Luna, you're here?" Have a seat. We'll start now. Everyone recognized this woman, Camila, the famous acting coach from the entertainment industry. I had been taking her classes for quite some time. Camila stood just out of Victor's view, hidden by the door. He didn't realize she was there. All he saw was Angelo standing next to me. That day, Camila happened to introduce Angelo to me, saying he could help me practice. Camila's demeanor was calm. Everyone knew her reputation. She was notoriously strict and cold. I can't believe I'm seeing such a gentle side of Camila. No, Luna actually has something here. Did you all forget Luna's family influence? With that background, who wouldn't be nice to her? I absolutely hate people who get by on connections. Everyone seemed to forget that Camila was a teacher at the top film academy in the country, and I happened to be one of her students. The trust one earned from her had nothing to do with my background. The moment Victor saw Camila's face on the screen, his face turned pale. The footage continued to play. Sandra's face appeared. Sandra had no resources or background. She had clawed her way up to her current position as a top actress through sheer effort and hard work. Netizens often said her features were like a painting and her gaze was as gentle as water. But now, her eyes were filled with anger. Nothing like the image everyone had of her. Are you here to audition too? We were standing in the hallway. The lead role for this drama was either hers or mine. She taunted me. I advise you not to waste your time. This role has already been reserved for me. I ignored her and kept walking forward. Sure enough, when the director saw me, he just glanced at me casually. But when Sandra came in, he immediately put on a flattering expression. Sandra shot me a disdainful look. The audition scene was about an exalted princess being slandered, falling from grace, and standing outside the battle with emotional turmoil. Sandra was already known for her acting skills. As she stood there, her brows furrowed slightly, and two crystal-clear tears fell down her cheeks. Sandra is definitely the queen of acting. This performance is heartbreaking. It feels like the princess has come to life. Amazing! How could Luna possibly compete with the queen of acting? Seeing this, Sandra's eyes showed rare satisfaction. She took the stand as a witness, saying, "Everyone, don't speak ill of Luna. If she got this role, there must be a reason. I'm not worthy." With those words, the controversy erupted. What? The lead role is Luna's? Why? Just because her family is powerful? I let out a sarcastic laugh. Sandra's true colors were about to be revealed. Chapter 5. It was my turn to perform. The director didn't look at me once, just kept his head down, flipping through his booklet. Everyone in the industry knew I had considerable influence, but I had never used it to gain any personal advantage. So, to them, I was just a paper tiger, and they saw no reason to treat me well. I closed my eyes, preparing my emotions. The princess stood outside the city, watching as the place she once called home was burned to ashes. From inside the city came piercing screams now and then. She couldn't tell if they were from her family or her people. This love, hatred, helplessness, and the fire of revenge burned in her heart, as stubborn tears rolled down her cheeks. At that moment, the director, who initially had no interest, was stunned by my performance. Someone in the audience began to cry. Sandra's face turned as green as it could possibly be. Wait, why did the scene without props make me cry? Luna's acting is actually this good? Even better than the queen of acting? How can you judge acting from just this one scene? Get real, people! Our Sandra has always let her work speak for itself. What does Luna have? The footage continued to play. The door opened, and a tall, handsome man walked in. He smiled at me and said, "Director, you know who the lead actress should be now, right?" Just like that, I landed the lead role. This man was Angelo. Everyone knew Angelo to be aloof, but the smile he had just given me was as warm as the spring breeze. Victor slammed his hand on the table, his voice full of anguish. "Your Honor, he is the man my wife is having an affair with." Sandra clutched her chest, sobbing. "Luna, you have so many resources, why do you still need to seduce Angelo to steal everything that belongs to me? Rely on a man? Everything that belongs to you? What an act!" She stepped forward and took out a recording. "This is proof of Luna seducing Angelo." People gasped as the recording of me and Angelo played in the hall. "If we get caught, We won't make it out alive. Angelo let out a small sigh. How many times do we get to live? I just want to live for what my heart desires. If you die, I'll die with you. Then I buried my face in his chest, crying. The recording ended. I clenched my fists, my palms sweating. Solid evidence. The judge looked at me with a complicated expression. Luna, do you admit to this? I sneered. I request to continue using the retracer. I tilted my chin toward Sandra. It's your turn now. Big Star. Chapter 6. Sandra placed her hand on the retracer, and the memories involving her began to play. It was after the director had decided I would be the lead. Sandra went to find Victor, visibly upset. Their meeting spot was very secluded, a small garden behind a hotel. Victor, your status is actually no less than Angelo's. Can't you help me? Sandra tugged at Victor's sleeve, her voice sounding slightly coquettish. Victor frowned, raising his hand to touch Sandra's face. You know that Luna's influence isn't limited to just Angelo. Then he wiped Sandra's tears away with the back of his hand, saying, There's nothing I can do. The clearly intimate footage left everyone present stunned, but there were still fans trying to defend them. They didn't do anything. How can you say Victor betrayed Luna over something so minor? Both of them worked their way up from the bottom. They must have a mutual understanding. The focus today is whether Luna betrayed him or not. Don't get it twisted. I looked at Sandra and Victor's evasive eyes and smiled. Don't worry. The best part is yet to come. Once the retracer is used, it can't be stopped. They thought they had everything under control. The memories involving Sandra continued to play. Sandra arrived at a hotel, wearing a mask and a hat, and entered a high-end room. Her gaze began to shift nervously. Inside the room, there was a man sitting. When everyone saw his face, they gasped in shock. It was the director. The footage flashed quickly, but what happened was clear as day. Everyone's eyes widened as they watched the gentle and composed queen of acting being pinned beneath the greasy middle-aged director. Sandra's image of being gentle and strong was completely destroyed. After a while, the sound from the neighboring room played. It was the recording Sandra had presented of Angelo and me, an actress using her body to get the lead role, a supposed resource girl cheating and getting recorded. It was truly scandalous. As expected, shortly after that day, Sandra found me and stood in front of me, flaunting her triumph. Luna, I told you, what isn't yours will never be yours. I shrugged. Completely agree. I'll return that statement to you. At that moment, Sandra, with her hands still on the retracer, had tears flowing down her face. Yet she still glared at me in hatred, as if she was throwing everything away. She said, If I go down, you're going down with me. But sorry. I'm doing just fine. I can't believe Sandra is like this. Luna isn't innocent either. In an instant, the hashtag Sandra and Luna get out of the entertainment industry skyrocketed to the top trend. I looked at Victor, his eyes red, his face full of disbelief. He had taken his cheating wife to court only to find out that not just his wife, but also his mistress, had betrayed him. How hilarious. The judge slammed his hand on the table. Guards, detain Luna. A group of people rushed forward, grabbing my arms. I shook off their hands, rushed to the retracer, and placed my hand on it. Your Honor, I'm not finished yet. Chapter 7. After being confirmed as the lead actress, Angelo often came to see me. He said, Since we worked hard to get this role, it's necessary to rehearse together beforehand. So we often found ourselves alone in a room. But as the footage showed, aside from rehearsing, we never did anything inappropriate. One day, we arranged to meet at a high-end hotel. Angelo played the role of a soldier stationed in an enemy nation, secretly protecting the princess. That day, the general could no longer bear his longing for the princess and sneaked out. If we're discovered like this, we'll both be doomed. If you die, I'll die with you. Coincidentally, Sandra's room was right next to mine. Coincidentally, she managed to record this part. With this, I had completely proved my innocence. Throughout all our rehearsals, my acting skills were evident, and my reputation soared. Victor and Sandra looked pale. The judge sighed. This was all a misunderstanding. Everyone may leave. I raised my hand, not intending to end it there. under everyone's watchful eyes. I turned to stare directly at Victor. "Your Honor, I want to report my husband Victor for infidelity." Victor was stunned. It was obvious he never expected me to know about his affair with Sandra. "Stop talking nonsense." Victor pointed at me angrily. "I admit I wrongly accused you. I made a mistake. Please, stop this and come home with me, okay?" Seeing him cornered like a frantic dog, I felt utterly delighted. Everyone around began discussing. How could Victor possibly cheat? I support Victor. He's always been the ideal husband in our eyes. Since that was the case, I might as well satisfy them. I tilted my head and smiled at him. "All right, let's go home." Chapter 8. Sandra walked out expressionless, her entire being like a lifeless shell, or rather, as if her heart had died. As she brushed past me, I said to her, "You've fought your way up to where you are now through hard work. It's truly not easy. But for someone who's always prided herself on being a top actress, you didn't notice how I deliberately amplified the volume during the recording." Sandra finally looked up, staring at me in disbelief. "You followed me," she muttered. "Why would anyone arrange to rehearse at a hotel? So it was deliberate on your part?" I just smiled without saying a word. She charged at me like a madwoman, her hair disheveled, muttering, "Bitch, bitch." In the end, she could only be forcibly dragged away. The farce was finally over, and Victor and I returned to our image as the model couple in the public eye. Victor warmly greeted the media. This time, I wrongly accused Luna, but it made me realize how steadfast our love truly is. Sandra and the director's reputations plummeted, and all their resources were cut off. Angelo found me again and said, "The director has been replaced. I wonder, Miss Luna, are you still interested in being the lead actress?" I was very interested. I knew Victor was always uneasy about me spending time with Angelo, but the more it bothered him, the closer I got to Angelo. Angelo was someone who took his work extremely seriously. Fortunately, this project was a big production, which could mean a turning point in his career. When acting with him, I easily got carried away by his performance. To avoid distractions, we often chose secluded places for rehearsals. Every day after we finished, Angelo would personally drive me home. My assistant would come downstairs to receive me. Since her failed attempt to help Victor with false testimony, the assistant's attitude towards me had become much more respectful. It was like she was scared, but there was also a hint of defiance. I handed her my bag as I walked straight ahead. "This is the bag Victor gave me a few days ago. It's yours now." Ever since marrying Victor, everyone had pointed their fingers at me, including the assistant. And it's understandable. Victor is handsome, wealthy, successful, and family-oriented. In their eyes, he was the perfect man. I quietly glanced back. The assistant was holding the bag close to her chest, as if afraid to drop it. "By the way," I said, turning back to her, "I need to go out tomorrow. Take my lace nightgown to room 306 at the XX Hotel." The next day, Angelo drove over to pick me up. He deliberately drove very slowly, and I guessed he knew what I was planning. I said to him, "If you're willing to help me finish this performance, I'll work with you long term." He gave me an ambiguous smile and agreed to my request. At an intersection, our car came to a stop. I suddenly leaned in close to him, our faces barely a few centimeters apart. The atmosphere was quiet, and we could feel each other's breath on our faces. "Once the act is over, don't forget our agreement," he murmured. I nodded. Sure enough, in the car following us, I caught a glimpse of a black watch on the driver's wrist. It was the same watch I had gifted my assistant for her birthday, the only one of its kind in the world. I patted Angelo's shoulder and said, "Let's go." The car resumed driving. Angelo's driving skills were impressive. We circled around several red lights and managed to shake off the assistant, but she knew where we were headed. We leisurely made our way to the hotel, where a crowd and the media had already gathered. The assistant was at the front. We wore masks and hats, blending in with the crowd, quietly waiting for them to open the door. The door opened. As they expected, a man was on top of a woman. In an instant, the flashlights clicked furiously. It took a while before they realized that the man was my husband, Victor. The woman beneath him was Sandra. the same woman who had testified with him just a few days ago. In no time, half-naked photos of the two spread all over the internet. Chapter 9. Oh my god. So Victor really did cheat. This is the first time I've seen a thief crying "Stop thief." How did he even have the nerve to accuse Luna in the first place? I never criticized Luna, beating 99% of the internet commenters. The assistant was stunned. Seeing this scene, I broke down and rushed out of the crowd, covering my face as I sobbed loudly. Oh my god. How could you do this to me? What did he say just a couple of days ago? Oh, right, steadfast love. Victor jumped off Sandra, whose eyes looked like she wanted to kill me. But fortunately, I had great acting skills. Right now, I was a betrayed wife, sitting on the ground, pounding the floor in agony. Victor grabbed me from the ground, his eyes red. Are you following us again? I didn't speak, just continued crying. Victor's eyes flickered, and he quickly turned to the cameras, trying to explain. Actually, Luna and I have been divorced for a long time. Please don't misunderstand. I didn't cheat. I laughed coldly. Divorce? The judge pushed through the crowd, leading a group of uniformed officers. No matter what, all of you are coming with us for now. The three of us were taken away, and I met Angelo's eyes outside the crowd as he quietly watched the scene unfold. He gave me a smirk and a thumbs up. I took it as approval of my acting. Using divorce as an excuse. Victor, your shamelessness truly knows no bounds. Victor didn't flinch. He moved closer to me, as if he had everything under control. I've investigated every detail of your family's affairs over all these years. If you ruin me this time, the moment the judge gives the order, the hitmen will kill every member of your family. I turned my head sharply, looking shocked. After all these years, Victor had climbed to a certain height, and I, for the so-called love, gave up my career and betrayed my family. Now, I just want to make up for the past. How could I let him harm my family even a little? For the first time, I felt a huge sense of defeat facing him. My palms were sweating continuously, and his gaze pierced through me like a knife. When a person has a weakness, they are bound to lose. What he wanted from me was for me to admit that our marriage was merely in name, and that there had long been no love between us. Chapter 10. My father is the wealthiest man in the country, and my mother was an award-winning actress from the previous generation. My family has a strong cultural heritage. I grew up as a little princess, pampered and protected. With my own efforts, I got into the film academy and acted in a few movies, but I didn't manage to shine, always carrying the label of a privileged actress. When someone is accompanied by good fortune, people will desperately try to downplay all their efforts, attempting to justify it with, "She just got lucky," to numb their own mediocre lives. A few years ago, during a talent show, I met Victor. Victor came from a humble background but never stopped striving for growth. I extended an olive branch to him and said, "I can help you." If I spoke to the judges, I was certain he would win first place in that talent show. But he simply shook his head and said, "When I climb a bit higher, I'll be worthy of Luna's help." Later, through his own efforts and charisma, he gained a large following and won first place. I pursued him intensely, and we eventually got together. However, my family strongly opposed our relationship. They wanted me, while I was still young, to hone my acting skills and pursue my dreams, rather than get lost in a small, insignificant love affair. They also said that Victor wouldn't be a good person, someone who has never experienced power changes the moment the spotlight shines on them. I was stubborn and told them, "I believe in him. I'm just doing what I want to do." Later, in a fit of anger, I left home, and my parents were deeply disappointed in me. I gave many of my family's resources to Victor and willingly became his simp. I firmly believed in the determined and unyielding look he had when we first met. But as they say, greed and indulgence corrupt people, and desires grow larger. The clinking glasses he once longed for had now become his stimulant. Looking back now, it felt like I was possessed back then, which led me to this current situation. Chapter 11. We returned to this place once again, but now, the one on trial was him. Victor's face was cold, as if he was betting on the fact that I wouldn't let my family get hurt. The judge looked serious. "Just now, You said that your marriage with Luna ended a long time ago. Is that true? Victor spoke with righteous indignation. Yes. I, Victor, have always obeyed the law and would never do anything illegal. I stayed silent. The judge continued. Do you remember the statements you made to the media not long ago about your unwavering love for each other? Victor hesitated. And for the first time, a trace of panic appeared in his eyes. Your Honor, our focus now is whether or not we've divorced, not what I might have said before. Meanwhile, a storm was brewing online. The image I had of Victor is completely ruined. He's no longer that gentle, refined young man who bravely pursued his dreams. Victor continued to struggle. If the judge doesn't believe me, just ask Luna directly. All eyes and cameras turned to me instantly. I struggled to hide the turmoil within me, while Victor's gaze, full of threat, bore into me from off camera. I closed my eyes for a moment. My marriage with Victor has not ended. Even until now, the flashlights flickered continuously, and the murmurs of the crowd grew louder. Victor visibly froze. Miss Luna, could you tell us more about your married life with Victor? What kind of person has Victor been to you all along? Has your life after marriage been happy or not? A microphone was thrust in front of me, but before I could answer, a man strolled in slowly. He slammed his hand on the table, and the entire room fell silent. Even the judge stepped aside. You just said that you and Luna are divorced. Oliver pointed at Victor and asked. But we haven't found any divorce records for you. Even if it's a marriage in name only. Didn't Luna just deny that? Oliver, my father's younger brother, my low-profile uncle, he was the highest-ranking judge, and rumor had it that he secretly ran a hitman company. Coincidentally, it happened to be the same company Victor once claimed would kill my entire family. My family's influence was vast, something Victor couldn't fully comprehend despite all these years of trying. But fortunately, when I decided to expose Victor, my family reached out to me. This time, it was the first time in my life that I relied on my family's background. The camera focused on Victor's face, which looked especially distorted. The flashlights illuminated Victor, making him appear strangely eerie. He looked nothing like the fearless young man full of drive I first met. He had nothing left to say and was taken away. As he passed by me, he whispered, "If only, back during the talent show, you hadn't chosen me, hadn't extended an olive branch. Back then," I said, "I can help you." But while some people raise their glasses and see their clear-eyed reflection, others can only get lost in the swirling liquid, unable to see the way they came. Chapter 12. Oliver sentenced Victor to death, and all marital property was awarded to me. Sandra disappeared without a trace, vanishing from the entertainment industry. Sometimes, I prayed for her, hoping she found a completely different kind of life. The assistant was found in a bathtub with deep cuts on her wrists shortly after Victor's death. Amid the spotlight, I quickly joined a new production, and the filming process went smoothly. When the show aired, I was officially nominated for Best Actress. On the day of the awards, I saw my parents in the crowd. I was interviewed by a media outlet, and the host asked me what my biggest takeaway was on this journey. I thought about it and replied, to regain my original passion. In the past, I took some wrong turns, but fortunately, I never lacked the courage to start over.